Sure. Is that right?
There we go. So when
Let me share a different agenda. Sorry about that.
yes, we could work off of that one, but this one, another one might be funner. So Jenny, how many Zoom meetings do you have a week?
This is my 4th or 5th today.
Oh my gosh.
I've had 3 all-day meetings this week.
Oh no, Kenning, I'm sorry. Kenning, before you get here, I was bragging. I set up my my wax bench downstairs. It kind of pushed the boat slightly more towards the center of the room, but I'm now able to wax skis. So I think that's the official start.
Nice. I hope it's a well-ventilated room.
Oh, it had, yeah, not so much.
Helps with the naps.
Well, the meeting to order, we're recording. It's a 1:25, and the first item on the agenda, Aaron will lead us off in discussing the Montana Land Plan for 2022. Aaron.
Okay. Hello, thank you everyone. So the Montana Land Information Advisory Council adopt the land information plan, which has been provided to you in the meeting materials. And that was endorsed by the council this past Wednesday on the 16th. And basically what we have is we've submitted to you the plan and then the public comment. The council was able to discuss in great detail at a council meeting and then a special work session the land information plan and how to move forward with the public comment that was received. And there really aren't very many major changes in the land plan itself, given the fact that the council decided several years ago to try to make it more of a 2 or 3 year plan that is annually renewed, so that we could better measure our success, and some of the tasks that we have in our land plan actually take multiple years to complete. And so one of the things that was brought up by the council was the structuring of the goals, and there was a really great amount of discussion regarding the goals, the overarching goals of the land information plan, and then the purposes of the act itself, and also the strategic plan that we will be conducting sometime in the future. And so basically what was discussed is changing of these goals to more of outcome statements. And I don't know, Jenny, did you want to pull that up? It's on page 8.
Does my screen keep sharing, or do I need to?
It should, yeah, it'll keep sharing. Yeah, there you go. So it's page 8. And so we just, Jenny and I, some of the council members had expressed concern that some of they didn't think that they were relevant goals and more of outcome statements, and so we just kind of fine-tuned this section a little more. And so this was something you might see that is a little different. Other than that, we kept most of the goals, actually all of the goals in the grants priority section the same, and we will move forward on upon the finalization of this document, move forward with the incorporating those grants goals into the next round of grants. And then I worked with all of the theme leads for all the Montana spatial data infrastructure themes, and had gotten their input on their 3 major priorities for the coming fiscal year. Some of those have changed, some of those have not, just due to the nature of the work that they do each year. And I think that's about it. Jenny, did you want to note anything else regarding the discussion in the work session?
I really like how we did the planning process this year. Because of the pandemic and everything, as Aaron said, not having a smaller subcommittee, but rather having a committee of the council as a whole creating the land plan and going through that process together in September really, I think, contributed a lot more to the overall discussion about the plan itself. And then, as Erin said, having the work session the week prior to the actual council meeting to review the public comment, that was a change that we made this year to the process to reflect recommendations that we had received from the council in the previous year. So I think in terms of overall council engagement, we probably saw more in this year's plan than we've seen in the past, and I was glad about that. The only other point that I would make about the plan is to remind the commission that this plan doesn't take effect until July of next year, 2021. And of course, we've got the subsequent legislative session, which could result in doubling the recordation fee that funds the work of this plan. So if we're successful in passing that legislation, we would go back to the council and ask for their input on how we would prioritize those increased funds with regard to the plan and the coordination work. So that would be an amendment to or an adjustment to this plan that we would need to take if that legislation passes, something that we would do this spring before July 1. So just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind.
Can you characterize the public comment?
Largely what Erin said, and there's a link.
There is, but some of us are
Comment
catching up,
somewhere.
sorry.
So like Erin said, the primary bulk of the comments had to do with characterizations of goals that were really outcome statements. And so having this section here that is written as outcomes, these were previously written as goals. And the comments were largely that they were sort of overreaching to really be considered goals. And so through the council discussion at the work session, we really realized together that really what these are outcomes that if the plan itself is successful, we should achieve rather than these being goals themselves.
That sounds.
And then to add to the other is basically the expressing the need for the development and the update of the transportation framework. That's another one that we had specific comments on, which is a priority, but is currently not being maintained because of our previous cuts.
There was one additional comment that the council discussed, and we ended up not really changing the plan to reflect, and that had to do with the characterization of the goals for the grant section. Did I blow by it already?
Yeah, it's like page 10.
So the way that the goals for the grant program are constructed are about they're focused on the policy priorities that data development would support. So next generation 911 and geo-enabled elections, and then more support for the boundaries theme. We were very deliberate a few years ago in changing how we described the priorities for the grant program, recognizing that the audience for the grant applications would be people like county commissioners to whom GIS staff would be discussing these. And we wanted to make sure that the policy work that the grants would support were of importance to those officials. Prior to that change that we made, you would see goals around developing specific MSDI data. And while that work is important and ultimately what gets funded through these grants, we felt at the time it was less meaningful for the officials for helping them understand why this kind of data development was important. We wanted to make sure that as the primary audience, they understood why their staff were recommending that they be investing in this kind of data. And then something that Aaron has often said, this approach becomes a model for how local governments might think about how they're investing their resources to support these policy issues. It's a long way to say that we had a recommendation in the comments to go back to making the language of the land plan focus on the data, and again talking around that issue and sort of the history of why we've settled on prioritizing the policies over the data. We ultimately decided not to change the plan to reflect that.
Do commissioners have questions for Aaron or Jenny? Are there any other people attending this meeting who have questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept this draft plan and carry on with the timeline as presented?
So moved by Dalton.
Kenning, a second. Thank you very much. All those in favor, aye.
Can I ask a question first? Do we have just a quorum, or is it?
Connie's on now.
We have just a
Connie's
quorum,
with
so
us, so
Okay,
Ken,
Sorry.
please
that's
vote.
fine.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Connie, hi.
I'm sorry I'm late. Lots of running around. out
No,
here.
no apologies. The majority of commissioners were late or utterly unaware.
Oh, you too.
So you're doing great. So in favor of the motion, aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. I heard unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay. Evan, it looks to me like the next item up is the Montana Land Act legislative report.
Yes, and Jenny, I saw that I can share my screen. Would you
I think
prefer
can,
that?
yep.
I was going to say you could also you could also run that part, and I could just talk about it. But
I'll let you run if that's all right with you.
works for me.
Easier.
See if I have better luck sharing with.
Ooh.
Could everybody see that? I've got it. Well,
Yes,
is it
I
still
can-
there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Big.
It's big. It's not going off anyone's screen or anything like that. I can shrink it if needed, but
No, it looks
Looks
good.
good.
Perfect.
okay. Before I jump into this, hopefully, well, I know we've got a few new people, so this will be new to them, but those of you that have been around, this should look familiar. We do these reports every biennium for the legislature, well, have since the act was passed. And we began using the story map format. I can't remember for sure if that was last session or two
yeah.
sessions ago, but
This would be our third.
okay. So our third story map legislative report. And the other thing I want to mention before we get into it is just want to thank Jessica Edwards and Troy Blandford for an enormous amount of work to pull this together. As I think all of you know, Aaron has been a little busy with family matters. And so we've tried to minimize the amount of time we've been calling on her for help with this. But I also want to thank her because even with that, for one, we did build off that old report. So an enormous amount of work that she's done in the past that was made this a lot easier for us. And second, there have been some things along the way that she is the only one that can figure out. And so even though she hasn't had to put as much time into it, usually it was last minute critical, like about an hour ago, I was still getting some permission errors, and I think she must have gone in and fixed something. So Erin, as well as Caroline, our GIS analyst, all those folks have put a lot of work into this, and I think we've got a really nice looking report here. Like I said, it may look familiar to some of you. If it does look familiar, you'll notice also that we made a little bit of change structure wise here. It's generally still follows the structure of last time, but understanding and recognizing a lot of our legislators are likely going to be pulling this up on a phone. We tried to shrink down our tab names so that it'll fit on smaller spaces a lot easier. It's nice because most of these sections actually have subtitles. So we'll go into statute and we'll see pretty immediately that it's talking about the Montana Land Information Act and goes from there. Several of these tabs are very similar to previous ones, but and starting with the introduction, this is the same introduction we had last time. We actually took this out, but it just didn't feel right coming straight into the statute page. So we felt like we needed something to bring folks in. For those of you who this is new to, obviously a nice image here. And then if we scroll down, we still have this impact video from Tom Coley. And I'm going to move past it pretty quickly, but so it doesn't play across all of y'all. But talking about the value of the work at the library, the value of MLIA and the MSDI to his work doing ranch maps and to others that do a similar work to what he does. So moving into statute, again, this is fairly similar to what we had before, but rather than going straight into MCA, we're taking people through our website that highlights key statutes and administrative rules so that they've got a little bit of context when they come in here.
Hey, Evan?
Yes.
I don't know if others aren't seeing you move through the report. I'm just still seeing them. Main page.
I guess I should go slower. Oh, I see. Sorry. How about
Yes, that's
now?
better.
Okay. So here, I'll just very quickly, so on that intro page, you scroll down, this is where Tom Coley talks about ranch maps and the MLA. So here on the statute page, sorry, I got to shift a little. For some reason, it's associated with one monitor. On the statute page, it has, again, this overview. MLA points to our website. We've got just a listing of the membership of the council. And then a link to the current land information plan. When we talk about the budget, we've got an overview. This section was focused primarily on, in the last report, recall that we were coming off of the 2017 budget cuts. So that's what it was focused on at that time. This has been revised and is written more about, more towards House Bill 633 and the study of funding and talks a little bit about kind of the flat appropriation that we've had and the variability in collections associated with the Land Information Act. And we actually have a whole section here that points to 633 and a little bit of narrative talking about the recordation fee legislation, the 911 funding legislation, and then the recommendation for additional funding, the recommendation letter that went to the governor's office for additional funding through general fund. And then we end the budget section. Some of you that have been to, I don't know that we have ever presented this to the commission, but this is a regular report to the Land Information Council showing monthly collections since the inception of the act. And you can see in the dark red the bad years. Last year was a good year. Turned out that way. It was looking bad until the end, but as real estate booms, collections tend to really jump. So I believe this is something that I don't think it'll change this report. but I believe Aaron and some of the GIS analysts are working on a dashboard to make a lot of this information more readily available. And I think it's something that you'll be seeing in the pretty near future.
It's like July 2006 was a really bad month.
Yeah, tough times. Yeah, I've never been clear on that first year. They look pretty standard, but obviously, you know, there's a little bit of time getting the act in place, and I think that's what July was. But I don't know if these were really collected in that time or if they came from the year before. But as far as we know, these are accurate.
Well, the act was passed in 2005, so July of 2006 would have been the first month it went into effect.
Implementation. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny.
A very bad year. Yeah, we basically have come to see that if any month is at or below 55,000, then there's reason for concern compared to historic average collections. So moving to the next tab, grants. Again, there's some value here in introducing people to the grant pages on our website because we've got some good summary information here. You can come in and see the amount awarded by fiscal year. And if you drill down here, you can see a listing of the actual grants that you approved in those fiscal years. We have a deeper history. This is another new, historically we just had a map here and now it's been replaced by a dashboard that allows users to drill down a little more. We don't, I think you have to get right into any individual grant to see the amounts. We don't have that built into the overall, but I think with the amounts in the overall page, that's okay. You know, primarily what we're trying to communicate here is where those grants have gone and all the different communities that have benefited from grants and types of different sectors that have benefited from that over time. This is also one that is, this will stay the same, but Aaron's working on a more expansive dashboard for grant reporting that we'll see in the near future.
This Ken, one question on that.
Okay.
It was useful the way it was set up on a, you know, on a per county basis. You could click and see what the history was there, and I think that's one of the grant criteria questions that the applicants have to complete. Be useful if that's still there, because I think that was, otherwise they have to call, well, there's institutional knowledge in a lot of the local governments, but sometimes there's not a turnover and such in the GIS community. So they have to then call the state library to find out who's, you know, who's gotten grants in the past and take staff time in order to make their application complete. So be good if that's still in there somewhere.
Yeah, that will be, that's definitely, this dashboard's gonna be a snapshot of time, but yeah, we will continue to have that resource available because it is a mandatory requirement of the
Yeah.
application.
It could be a list instead of a map too, for that matter, but yeah.
Good feedback. And then past grant highlights, I just pulled together some existing materials that we had, either reports that had been made on previous grants and just put them into a PDF. It can be navigated with little bookmarks here, but you know, we've got stories going all the way back to 2009. Some of them are a little nicer looking than others. Some are more report format, but just a great resource, I think, both for this and for anything that we do. It's kind of consolidated there as far as grant success goes. Data used to be the Montana Spatial Data Infrastructure tab, and it essentially has not changed functionally. It's just gotten a new title. We did try to work in links to the individual framework pages here, and we made sure that we had current interactive maps for each framework layer. So there are 15 here. all of these should be working. And like I said, we should have links that take you straight to the framework page. So a lot of good information here as well. We had a, I'm not sure how this looked in the past. I guess I'd just say for these last 3 tabs, we've had various different tabs at the end of this report. You know, at one point we were kind of highlighting current issues, and it might have even been titled something along those lines. Then we had one that was kind of data access, I think, previously, and we've tried to consolidate those general data access tools under access. So we start out with the data list where people can get access to any of the MSDI layers. And then we highlight applications, initially applications that are targeted around a framework like the cadastral application. And we make a point of any framework themes that are used in the application. We're having a little bit of an issue with HTTPS, so I couldn't get an embedded heritage map viewer, but there is a link out to that for people to go to. And of course they use, in addition to land cover and wetlands, which this is kind of the source for, they use several other framework layers: hydrography, hydrologic units, transportation, administrative boundaries, cadastral imagery, and elevation. So they're really leveraging the MSDI to make this happen. And then we felt like it was important to feature MBMG has put together a new geologic maps site and application for people to both see what maps are available for any area, as well as to download those. And we wanted to highlight that here. And then from there, there's also a link to not necessarily sites that were designed around making MSDI available, but sites that are enabled by the availability of MSDI layers and web map services built on those layers. So we highlight the DNRC Interactive Wildland Fire Map, and nicely embedded here. And we can see some of those themes that we have in here. Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Hunt Planner, again, highlighting the framework themes in here. Flathead County Interactive Mapping Application, Sanders County Plat Map. Felt like it was important to note, we've seen a couple of state and a couple of local governments. Here's a private sector, the Onyx Maps. We don't have a specific item here. We just link to their website. And then finally, just really felt like, both because of our partnership with the NRCS, but also because this, kind of like the map viewer, the heritage map viewer, so many themes are leveraged here for the NRCS's ecological site reviewer. Just really felt like that was important to highlight in this report as well. So really good use of our work. And then the last 2 tabs, we felt like it was important to highlight a couple of very specific items of the moment. Of course, how could we not talk about COVID? We originally tried to put the full dashboard hub site in here, but it just got a little busy with the tabs and on top of tabs. So we just focused on the most familiar part, which is the county reporting dashboard. But we also have a link in here that takes people to the full Montana response story map / dashboard site. And then, given the amount of work that we've been doing on LiDAR in the past couple of years and anticipate doing for several years to come, we felt like it needed its own tab here. We started with a good overview about, we expect most people to come in immediately and say, what is that? And so we get it right in and not only explain what LiDAR is, but also give them lots of really nice pictures to really pull them in.
Really is absolutely gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah, and some really neat stuff here. I think probably many of you, if any of you don't know what you're seeing here, the lighter colors are the higher trees. And so you can basically see this is likely a section of state land or federal land where there was a timber project. And so because they're cut, much lower trees, and that's why you see the sharp barrier here.
Evan, I understand a couple commissioners need to leave in just a moment.
Okay.
Are we ready to move to action so we get
I
that?
think so. Yeah, we can wrap this up. We've got the plan and some information about data usage and a status map, but that is the legislative report. Thank you again to all those people that have helped make this happen.
Well, pretty wonderful. And I see from the memo that the Montana Land Information Advisory Council, MLIAC, recommends adoption of this. Do I hear a motion to, is there any further discussion of this amongst commissioners? Do I hear a motion to approve as presented?
I'll move to approve.
Any seconds?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dalton. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Well, that's great. I'm sorry to rush through that, Evan, but that it is truly spectacular stuff, and I love the format of the report. It's really great.
It's a lot more interesting than what I need to go do, honestly. I'm going to go back and poke around in that more. It is, as Bruce said, it's just beautiful.
It is. It is. I want wallpaper. Let me ask for, if I may, for any public comment not contained within this agenda, and but appropriate to this discussion.
I know folks need to run, but I'll say one other thing about the story or the report, and that is, just before this, in talking about what we've got here, it really raises the possibility and the idea. We've struggled with that reporting piece with you guys for a long time, and I see this report getting more and more oriented around these dashboards, and we'll be able to better share a lot of this information with you more directly ongoing through the years, rather than just being a once a biennium thing. So
Well,
excited
super.
about that.
Super.
Thanks.
Love to see this be a live document. Any other business or announcements? Then at 1:56.
Apologize for the miscommunication on the meeting.
Oh, some
Yeah.
of us just require apparently really leading by the nose. So
Yeah.
we'll do that.
I know I saw an email last week going out to Marla. So if we're having email issues, it would help to know that too. So
I think
I'm not sure.
it's just simply for me, I just need that little Outlook rather thing that then automatically takes and shoves it in my calendar.
Oh, for me, I'm just having a day. It had nothing to do with the communication from your end.
Well, I'm sorry, Connie.
It's okay.
Have to run, everyone.
Okay, thank you,
you.
Kenny.
Thank you all. Happy holidays.
Hi, folks.
Thank you too. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's.
Merry Christmas. Let's adjourn at 1:57.
Thanks, Bruce.
Take care.
Thank you very much,
Bye,
Kenny.
guys.
And again, my apologies for having to be woken up from my long winter sleep.
Hey, Evan, are you still on?
Yes.